Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Tales from the Core. As always, your host, Dirty Mike Francis, and my 3-6 brother, Sir Neil the Sherpa of Pace, future Sherpa,
Sherpa.
Pelelu Sherpa. Yeah, we're gonna get into all that with our guest here, Mike Algeo, who's joining us. Tracy put us in touch, and we scheduled a phone call. We talked yesterday, and I was just like, dude, I'm like, I got to have you on the podcast, man. His story, his thoughts, beliefs, a lot of his experiences, align with us. We had a really, really great talk. And I was like, yeah, man, I'd love to get you on the podcast. Like, join us, come on. And he's like, when? And I'm like, tomorrow.
A little short notice, but hey.
So yeah, man. So he's joining us, and United States Marine Corps veteran. Made a trip to Mount Everest that we're going to get into. We really talked a lot of the same stuff, man. Like, getting out the dark thoughts, the intrusive thoughts, the just all the things that we deal with as veterans. So great talk. And without any further ado, we will bring Mike on, man.
Gentlemen,
Mike, welcome
What's up,
to
Mike?
Tales from the Core, man.
Thank you, brothers. I appreciate you taking the time to have me on.
Same, man. Same to you. I know it's only like 6 p.m. there, but still, like, especially we were talking yesterday, and you were just quick to hop on with us tonight. And dude, just your story and the things you were talking about and the things you were saying, it was just so powerful. It's like, we got to make this happen ASAP. So really glad that you joined us on here tonight.
No, an absolute pleasure that you would even have me on. I was able to get a little caught up on your channel. Love the content, love what you're doing, and to be on here is a complete honor.
That's awesome, man. We appreciate that. And for, I don't know if you were looking at YouTube, for a lot of you guys who might not know, because a lot of people were following us on Spotify and all that other stuff for the longest time that we have on YouTube now. And the coolest thing about YouTube is seeing just random complete strangers it's just, I actually screenshot something and sent it to Henry earlier because he was just talking about, he's not a Marine, he didn't serve, but he was talking about how powerful with the old breed was. And it's so cool, man. It's so cool to be able to get to interact with these people and have conversations with them and then share stories from guys like Henry, from guys like his dad Sledge, and John Gleason, and all these different people have him on here. It's an honor. So, thanks for officially being part of it with us.
Of course. Again, thank you for having me.
So usually, as you know, then the way, especially with the Marines, we like to kick it off is, we like to talk about like what made you join the Marine Corps, when you went in, just that journey, pretty much.
I'm sorry, I lost you for a second.
We just lost you too, so that's all good. We can hear you.
All right, cool. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, which...
Oh, there you are.
Yep, we got you. We can see you again.
Sorry about that. User error.
No worries at all. So yeah, we like to go into what led you to the Marine Corps, what made you join, your journey, just things of that nature. That's how we usually like to kick these things off.
Yeah, I wish I had nothing in my life to an extent has been a cookie cutter thing. Like the Marine Corps, it was a journey to an extent. And one of the earliest memories that I have, there are good parts to why I joined, and there are bad parts. And one of the reasons I'll share the bad part is to remove a lot of the stigmatism that are associated, especially we as men, that we find. And I think it's important that we share these things. So the good thing, one of my earliest memories, my mother had a severe alcohol and drug abuse issue, and we were homeless often. And I was homeless as a kid more times than I could remember. And even one of my earliest memories is of my mother and some other dude. We're in Burger King, and she's trying to figure out her next move, or they're trying to figure out their next move. And I'm sitting there in the booth, and somebody walks in, and he's in camis, I think he was an army soldier. If he was a Marine walking in with candy, he was a complete shitbag.
I was gonna say
Fix
wasn't
yourself.
a Marine.
You're gonna
Hey,
get
Devil
hammered,
Dog.
man. Yeah.
And I gave this like little really sloppy salute, really shy sloppy salute, and he just straight up, and I'm like, man, that's so badass. That's so badass, and just like that, how he returned that salute and how he carried himself made an impact, even as one of my earliest memories. Now the bad part, what led me to the Marine Corps, and it took me a long time. I'm 43 now, and it took maybe up until maybe 2 years ago to figure out how's the threshold for cursing here.
Yeah, I mean, we've not been shut down on Facebook Live yet, so.
All right, cool. I'll try to keep it minimal. I'll only curse when it's pertinent. But one of the hard parts was I was sexually abused as a child. Again, my mother had a severe alcohol and drug issue, and to help subsidize that, she would prostitute herself to a certain extent. When she was no longer in a position, I'm trying to keep it in a way that's PG. When she was no longer satisfying her, core clientele, that's where I came into play. And in terms of the first times I ever had sex were with men for money. I didn't get the money. I'm still waiting on that. But there was no money for me. It was I was essentially being sold for sex, and that was it was a very difficult experience to go through. Even as a 43-year-old man now, I can still remember aspects of those, and it's still traumatizing. It's still hard to think about, and I considered those people who were engaging in that abuse with me as monsters. Now, you guys will probably come up with this at the same time. What's the famous Marine Corps commercial?
Dude, that's exactly my thought.
Yeah.
Was thinking of him slaying the dragon. When you,
Damn
as soon as you said
dragon.
monsters, like that's just what that image was in my head.
And so this was when I was going through this. That was a very famous commercial.
Yeah.
And you're going through this process, and he's fighting the dragon, and then at the end of it, you have this Marine. And that's how I saw these guys, as monsters. And even to an extent, even it gets into a little bit more Freudian type aspect. I saw myself as a monster, because especially as a young child, you feel like, and I'm not trying to, this is very much a generalization, but you feel complicit in the abuse. You feel, you're to blame to an extent. And for me, the Marine Corps was slaying of that monster. And of course, being angry at these people who were perpetrating the abuse. Even for a long time, it took me a long time to actually refer to my mother as my mother. I would just refer to her as Suzanne, her name. But I just got to the point where, in my own life, just wanting the best for people and wishing people well. My mother has since passed away, but ultimately just calling her my mother, because I understand now, to an extent, psychologically, of what she was going through. Not excusing it, but that's my thought process. And so with the Marine Corps, slaying that monster within me was the big thing. And that's when I had the different choices. I was originally talking to the Air Force guy, but then went into the Marine recruiter. And when I was in my first year of college, I was studying classics, and it was a Latin Greek major, focusing on aspects of that, focusing on the Homeric poems, i.e., the Odyssey and the Iliad. And I walked into the Marine recruiter, and just reminded me of, I'm not sure how familiar you are with classicism, but there's a story of Cincinnatus. He's a general who, during the Civil War, is on the farm. The Civil War comes. He leaves the plow to go fight the war. The war is over. He's the dictator. He can do whatever he wants. He leaves that and he goes back to the plow. And for me, the Marine Corps really exemplified that aspect of the service to state, service to others, vice service to yourself.
Yeah, I never really thought about it until just now, but thinking back about that commercial, and man, I've talked with so many people, and I feel like Marines and in general, for them to not come from some traumatic childhood experience, or on their way to prison or whatever, man, like we come from broken homes, all like a plethora of things, and it's like your story just now, your experiences kind of make me think about that commercial in a different light,
Yeah,
that
very much so.
So many of us had things to battle, and the Marine Corps, for what it's worth, all the bullshit that we put up with, and the things that the Marine Corps did to us, the things that we have to live with. I mean, I know for me personally, I probably would have ended up in prison or something, had I joined. I was a crazy little dude, like, drinking and partying, like underage, like dropped out of high school, like all those things, man. Like, like God only knows what would have happened if I wouldn't have joined. So,
well, that's the funny thing. We'll get into it a little bit more into the podcast as we fast forward. But I was actually the complete opposite when I joined. It wasn't until after I got out, and we can get to that in the natural regression. I turned into exactly that in terms of, here I'm doing blow off strippers' thigh bones, mixing Xanax and Adderall, and doing, going to the gym with vodka in my Gatorade, and making all kinds of a lot of self delusions as far as where I was actually at, and I was actually really fudging myself up to no end. But we can get to that whenever we're ready to get to that in the podcast.
Yeah, you're 100%. I was talking with a guy last night. He's a Ranger, and he was talking about how he didn't really ever do anything until he got in, and it's just like, man, especially the Marine Corps. You're born in a bar, like it's what you do. There's strip clubs everywhere, and I mean, not to say like what we did was wrong. We were who we were. We were Marines. We were living for the moment, especially when you had a combat deployment coming up. You didn't know if you'd make it home. So
absolutely.
But yeah, what sucks is then like I always tell people this, there's no boot camp for getting out.
It's absolutely correct. You spend both you guys were 03s, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So I can't speak intelligently, nor would I want to, because it's not my experience. But for me, I was an aviation guy. I was in aviation operations. And so from my experience, it was 3 months of boot camp, same deal. Instead of SOI, it was MCT. So that was like a 3-week deal. And then A school in Mississippi was, again, 3 months. So now we're at 7 months. And then I'm a PFC, so I don't know shit. Get to the fleet, and then it takes about 5 months to really kind of, okay, I kind of have an idea. You can take the safety wheels off. I kind of get an idea of what I'm doing without killing myself or killing others. So we're talking about a full year to be able to learn how to be a Marine competent in my particular MOS.
Right.
And then you apply those skills as you progress in rank from corporal to sergeant. You're doing this corporal's course and sergeant's course, all that kind of deal. And then you get a 1-week course on here's how to write a resume, and then here's how to, you should wear a suit, and then
yeah, man.
Yeah.
And that's hard. That was it wasn't too hard for me, but I knew several individuals that had a very, very difficult time, because you use all that time to learn how to become a Marine, and then you get that 1-week course, and then it's like, all right, well, don't forget to stop by SIF and get everything signed off, and get the fuck
Yeah.
get your shit and get the fuck out. So it's a it's a hard transition.
It's well,
Yeah.
it sucked. It sucked. I mean, I can remember whenever I was getting out, I loaded up everything and I had to be careful. I fucked up in when I was about to get out. I had my good cookie and all that, but I messed up big time with a DWI and yada yada that whole thing. And um, I kind of had to hold off on driving away and getting and coming home. You know what I mean? I was kind of having to really plan it out to be careful. So what that did was I packed up all my stuff and I had a truck at the time and I put it in the truck bed. And I remember I got done and I kind of threw everything in there and I had more than enough room for, I mean, I could have fit like a wall locker in there. I was like, damn. I was just standing there looking at my hands and my hips. I'm like, man, this is all I have to show for the last 4 years, you know? And
Absolutely.
it hit me like a damn a Tyson hook, bro. I was like, gosh, dude. So what am I doing the right thing? Like I was sitting there looking at this. I only had it was like a sea bag and like two like little like tubs of like clothes and camis, and that was about it. I was like, wow, 4 years and this is all I had to show for it.
Yeah, I
And
understand.
yeah, the whole drive home it was a thrill to go home. Don't get me wrong, but whenever I was driving, it was really it was like, damn, what am I gonna do? They don't teach you how to take the uniform off. They don't.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
you're not taught that.
Yeah, dude, I remember when I got out, you guys had already left for Iraq. And so like
Yeah.
everybody I knew was gone, man. It was just like the craziest kind of most depressing like feeling ever. I remember going in and getting the DD 214 signed, and I remember the admin kid just looking at it and he's like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, what? And he's like, you did a lot of shit. But like, I guess for us, it was just normal, like our op tempo was so high,
Yeah.
and I guess for him being an admin guy, not ever deploying, it looked like a lot, but maybe he was new to that desk or something. And yeah, man, there was two guys like Scott Jones, one of the mortarmen, was like the last dude I saw before I left because he didn't go on that deployment with you guys either. And yeah, dude, it was just depressing, lonely, and that's just the beginning of it.
Mhm.
Because then you get out,
But
you
wait,
Yeah.
there's more.
right.
Yeah. Right.
Like Mike and I were
Yep.
talking yesterday because we were talking about like suicidal thoughts and all this stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, the standard issue, suicidal thoughts when you EAS, like here you go, you're gonna have these forever. Like,
You got to keep that sifted and want that back.
yeah.
Be all messy and whatnot.
Yeah. And then what
uh,
sucks, man, like I guess since we're on the topic is like, Mike, another thing you said is we keep things in for so long because of shame. And man, like for 2 decades we keep quiet about all of this stuff. And I mean, we've really done a lot in the past 2 years. And I think that things have been really good and we've been able to help a lot of people out. But just remaining silent helps no one. It doesn't help. Sure as fuck don't help you.
And again, I'm a big proponent of using I statements. I don't like to speak for anybody else other than myself and my own experiences. But one of the reasons I'm open, and it took me years. It wasn't until, like I said, 2 years ago where I was really more open about what had happened, is because there's a sense of shame in that, and I kept it inward. And I how do I want to phrase this? So it was almost like emotionally I could turn on and off a switch. And at times I could be very, very callous and very, very obtuse and very seemingly uncaring. And there's a time and place for that. One of the things that I do many things, but one of the things I do as a main source of income is I do small claims mediation. So after the Marine Corps, I went to law school. Somehow I finished law school. It's a complete mystery, that more so to me than anybody, that I finished law school
Right.
successfully. And I fell into small claims mediation. And especially when you're dealing, one of the things that I also do is guardianships. And so this is when people have their kids taken away, they're with a guardian, they're maybe with the county. So the kid has it's called a guardian ad litem. And it's very emotional because the one parent who was almost always was incarcerated, wants their kid back, and then it's becomes very emotional. But I turned that switch off because one, me being emotional in that situation is not going to be helpful to anybody. We're here to come
Sure.
to an agreement that we can maybe potentially get to before the court, that the judge will sign off on. So me crying with that person won't be helpful. But to an extent, I was so emotionally switched off that people just thought I was just a complete asshole. And it was, in reality, a lot of it was just a defense mechanism for my own emotional baggage.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I don't know about Neil. He's a pretty nice guy, actually. Like, Neil's the nice one.
Yeah, that's a man.
Yeah, man, I get the asshole thing a lot too. but almost sometimes it's kind of like a good thing because then people like leave you the fuck alone.
That is one good thing. That is one good thing. But
like, man, that guy's an asshole. Like, I'm just sitting over here like fucking.
But that's one of the reasons I definitely now have changed. I think for the better, depending upon who you ask, in that I'm a little bit more in touch with my feelings as I've gotten older. It's debatable whether I've gotten wiser or not, but at the same time, being more aware of my feelings and how that affects other people. And not only how it affects other people, but what I can do by sharing aspects of my story, not keeping things in, is a big thing, because what we do a lot of times as men, and especially in a culture like the Marine Corps, like, so for instance, which is, can be considered a lot, you're surrounded by violence. So for instance, I forget what makes the grass grow.
Yeah. Blood.
Blood.
Okay. I'd forgotten for a second. So you're surrounded by this violent environment, and it's what ends up doing, people end up keeping this stuff inside. And then, like me, and like what me and Mike had talked about yesterday, was getting to the point of almost ending it. And yeah. I don't know. Can I go into this one part, or do you want to? Should we? Do you want to? There's one part I just wanted to mention. While it's still fresh, is
let's go.
I was in a very, 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 very poorly thought out relationship, and it was hard in that the dynamic of it. I'll put it that way. And so when it had ended, all that stuff that I kept, it had nothing to do with her. It had very little to do with whatever she had said in terms of things we were going to do in the future. This was all me. This was a me problem. And all this stuff that I had kept in and never had properly processed, it blew up. And even though I was doing well at that point, it became a very, very difficult matter to contend with. It did become a legal matter. I'll put it like that. It did become a legal matter. I didn't go to jail. Almost went to jail, but I didn't go to jail. It was done civilly, and it could be construed, it could be argued as quasi criminal. And so here I was trying to do the right thing, be this straight and narrow guy for 40 years. And then here I have a judge telling me essentially what a piece of shit I am. And then I just went downhill fast. I had never used drugs, not even marijuana. And even though I got into drug abuse, I still haven't tried marijuana. And that's how I was able to self-delude myself, was, well, at least I'm not doing the devil's lettuce.
Right.
Yeah, I'm doing. Yeah, I have two strippers next to me in a bar in Rosarito Beach, Mexico, and yeah, I'm doing blow off their thigh bones. But at least I'm not doing marijuana. Right. And this is how I'm able to delude myself and my thoughts. And so, what ended up happening was, so I fell into this drug abuse, and it was a very difficult point in my life. And nearing to the point where I was I was about to kill myself. If I had access to a gun, or if I could have purchased, or if I was in a position to purchase a gun, I'm virtually certain I would have blown my brains out. I'm virtually certain. So you can call it the voice of God, the universe, whatever, but something in me, I call it the voice of God, just said that you are being the world's biggest bitch. That's why, like clear as day, as clear as I can hear you guys. You're being, Mike Algeo, you're being the world's biggest bitch right now, because it's my inner dialogue, my inner talk. Me, poor me.
Yeah,
Oh,
man.
Mm-hmm.
poor me. Blah blah blah. And you need to make a change, and you need to reach out for help, because with what you're doing isn't helping. And it was getting to the point where I'm using cocaine every day. This is for about maybe a 2-month span, so it wasn't for a long period of time, but it was substantial. Um, Using Adderall, using Xanax, using Percocets, going to work not drunk, but nearly so. And like you had mentioned, Tracy Hunter, I met Tracy when I did the basic airborne course with a civilian parachute team. So actually, me and Tracy actually jumped together on a number of occasions. And Tracy Hunter is just badass. I couldn't say I dare you to find one person that can say anything negative about Tracy Hunter. She's amazing.
Yeah.
And so when I went through this basic airborne course, I got very close to a core group of guys that I jumped with, and we're all on this text message thread. And it was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I reached out to them, and I said something along the lines of, it's not verbatim, but something along the lines of, like, brothers, I don't think I'm going to make it through the night. I have a knife from Iraq. I have encased on my wall. It's pretty sharp, and I was going to take it out of its case, and then I was going to plunge it into my neck. And that's only because I couldn't have access to a gun. And so I reached out to these guys at 3 o'clock in the morning. 10 minutes later, my phone is fucking ringing off the hook. Like, Algeo, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, especially one guy, I have to give a shout out if he sees this, Rob Bueno. Airborne dude, served in Iraq and Afghanistan, went through the course with him, jumped with him in a number of occasions, jumped with him in Normandy, France last year. Fucking badass dude. He was the first. He's like, Algeo, what's going on? And I'm just sobbing. And I don't think I'm going to make it, because this chick she was everything for me. It wasn't like love. I worshipped literally the ground that this is how I saw this was going to be my wife. This was going to be my future life. And when that all fell apart, I fell apart. And then when it became the legal matter, that just compounded an already difficult issue, and just made it much more worse. So my phone's ringing off the hook. People are checking in on me. Basically, I have to do a contract. Rob Bueno, if you see this, I love you, brother. He's like, you have to give me a promise. You're not gonna one day at a time. You're not gonna do anything crazy. Then another guy on the team, we call him Tommy. That his name is Tommy. That guy Turkle, and Tommy that guy Turkle. He's a California guy, but he has a farm in Arkansas that I had visited once before. So me and him talked. He's like, why don't you come out to the farm? And this is a pretty remote area of Arkansas. So, he has internet. It's not like we're going out there, hey, we got to go hunt our dinner tonight. He's got stuff. So it's not like we're that remote, but it's like a 25-minute drive to a Dollar General, to give you some context.
Yeah.
And so went out there for about 2 weeks. Cleared my mind, got my shit together. I'm like, all right, I'm feeling a little bit better. But this is one of the things that it's important, where if I hadn't reached out to these guys, I'm virtually certain I would have, even with that voice of God, I would have either broken out the knife and plunged into my neck. I would either found the tallest roof I could find and do a Peter Pan off the top. I would have done something as far as self-harm because I was in that position and that hurt and I felt so stupid and I felt so used. But this is the important one of the reasons I share this story. It's important for we, especially we as men, to be able to make that call at 3 o'clock in the morning. That was the hardest thing I'd ever done, including when we get to it. We'll get to the Everest part here in a little bit, but that was the hardest thing I'd ever done was reach out. Like, I need help. Because we as Marines, it's, get the stand out of your vajayjay. It's like, get back into it. And so one of the things, if anybody sees this as if they're struggling and make that call, it'll be the hardest thing you ever do, but it's going to work out so much better in the end.
Well, and Neil, man, it's been a while, but we've had a number of podcasts where we've kind of said the same thing where, one of the things that we said is, by joining the Marine Corps, becoming a Marine, you are becoming a better version of yourself. That's why many of us do it, as we've kind of discussed here tonight. And, we've always been there for one another. And that doesn't just end, because we EAS'd and got our DD-214s. So, continue to work towards becoming that better version of yourself, because that's what Marines do. And there's nothing wrong with reaching out to someone. There's nothing wrong. Like, dude, if I needed to buy a pack of smokes because April 1st, the payday isn't until Tuesday, you better believe I'm going to be hitting everybody up for a couple bucks, to buy a pack of Marlboro Reds. Well, fuck, man. If you're having problems with your life, reach out to those same dudes. Like, absolutely. It's no different, man. Like, we're the type of dudes that will literally give you, maybe not give you, but we at least share our last smoke with them, like.
Or I don't even smoke. I don't smoke cigars, sticks, none of that, man. But I'll go ahead and get them from Mike. On the way, what was it, to LA?
It was, dude.
I had to cram them in there, man.
Perfect example. It's kind of stupid, but it is kind of funny. Where, dude, Total Wine and More. This is total segue, but Total Wine and More carries the cigars I smoke, and so I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna buy them when I get to LA. That way, I don't have to track them to St. Louis, Kansas City, like the whole route I made all the way to LA to go to Peleliu. Get to Total Wine and More in California. Hell no, they don't carry those damn things. And so Neil's got to go through Pensacola. I'm like, dude, I need you to stop. I looked it up. They have them. Like,
yeah, I was on the way to the airport at that time. I think I believe, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it was a little detour, man. I was like, yeah, I'll get him his sticks. I had to grab. I didn't know what the hell I was looking for. I was like, you know what, man, this is for my brother, man. I gotta do this. Yeah, I gotta support this stogie habit, man.
I mean, dude,
this vice.
That's like, dude, I mean, if we could reach out to each other for stuff that's like irrelevant like that. I mean, when it comes to your life, and I had a guy FaceTime me. It was December of 2022. And I kind of did the same thing where I told him, I was like, hey, just make me a promise. Like, you won't kill yourself until after the reunion. All right, make it to the reunion. And then we'll figure it out. If it's not better by then, we'll see if it's still on the table for you to do. But yeah, one day at a time, man. And with anything, with alcohol, whatever it may be, yeah, just have somebody that you can reach out to, because that shit, we say it all the time, man. It lies to you. You sit there and, you put on the music, listen to Hurt by Johnny Cash, like drink a fifth of Jack Daniels, and just you start to feel sorry for yourself. And it's like, no, man, no. Like you're so much more capable and have so much more potential than you even realize, which I think it's a great place to go with what you did next with the Everest thing, man. Cause like,
I'd say, so me and, again, me and Mike talked for the first time yesterday, and then we, fortunately we hit it off right away, and Tracy Hunter connected me, with Mike, and it was, I mean, however you believe, whatever you may believe, there are no accidents. People don't meet in this way by just happenstance. And so when I was going through that struggle, I still struggled. So I got back from Tommy's Farm in Arkansas. I went to go visit my buddy Rob Gueno in Florida. We do skydiving, blah, blah, blah. All good. I'm still doing the parachute thing. I go to Normandy, France for the first time. Go parachute in the same DZs that of the battle, which was a complete honor. Dropping on Lafayette drop zone, complete honor. But I'm still struggling. I'm like, okay, so I need to I need to do something really good. I need to do something really big. So what I do first is I go to Israel. I go to Israel for 2 weeks and trying to do the walk of God and try to be, have, more Christ in my life and all that kind of good stuff. So I go to Israel, do the pilgrimage to Jerusalem, go see where Christ was crucified, where it's believed that he was resurrected. And I do all that. And then it's still not helpful. I'm still trying to get my head around not only what had happened in a relationship that had deteriorated, but feelings of self-worth, feelings of inadequacy. Still struggling. I'm like, okay, so here's what I'm going to do. And this is where it goes into, my plan. It's always, I'm going to people, now here's my plan. And, just out of transparency, even after I got back from Israel, I was still struggling. So much so that I ended up. Have you guys ever been to San Diego? Really?
No,
I've never been to San Diego at all.
So it's called it's an area of San Diego called La Jolla, and that's where the VA is at. And so I ended up being put into the mental health ward of the psych ward of the VA. And I was there for 3 days. And a buddy of mine, it's fun. It's almost ironic to an extent. So I call a buddy of mine, a guy that I'm partnered with in another business venture. And so besides a business partner, we're also friends. And he came and got me. And he's like, "So Mike, what are you gonna do now?" It's like, "Oh, well, what I think, here's my thing. Here's what's really gonna get it all together is maybe this Everest thing, because I always had a dream of going to Everest." He's like, "Mike, you don't have any fucking shoelaces, dude." Oh yeah, because they take them out to make sure you don't make sure you don't hang yourself in the psych ward. And so here I am telling this guy what my plan of going to Everest, and I don't have any shoelaces on. So, and good on him, man. Good on him to call me out on that. I'm like, yeah, but we can use some more shoelaces. But going back to Everest, and he's like, "Hey, man, just like focus on yourself and all that kind of good positive energy." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to go to Everest." And so that's why I made the decision that even though I'd be gone for about a month and a half, I was like, I got to do this. Something is calling me to. It's one of those things, going to Israel and seeing where Christ walked. That's all good stuff, but it's still not a challenge. It's still not a challenge just to go there and eat a bunch of shawarma and then take pictures,
right,
and do a prayer. But Everest, man, this might be life changing. So I make that decision, and I go with a company, and I end up meeting my guide there, a beautiful man. His name's Dawa Sherpa. I have nothing but great admiration for the Sherpa people. My time in Nepal, I saw at least 20 Indian and Western climbers being carried down by Sherpas. I don't know how tall you guys are. I'm 5'10".
Neil's like a Sherpa. He's
okay.
Yeah, I'm like 5'7".
So these guys are like right here, but they are just immensely strong and immensely. I had no doubt at all that my guide would do everything, including risking his own life to save mine. I have zero doubt. And Dalla, if you see this, namaste, brother, love you. And so I met up with him. I had a porter as well to carry my stuff. And we start. I get into Kathmandu, 2 days in Kathmandu, and then you essentially have to fly from Kathmandu to a place called Lukla. And Lukla is where all of the expeditions start. You can walk it and you can take a bus to Lukla, but it's just too impractical. So everybody flies. So I got into Lukla. First day was okay. I was doing okay with the altitude, but the second day was like a 9-hour trek, and it was only 3 miles, which, what is that? That's a PFT.
Yeah.
But when you're at that point, it'd be about a little over 16,000 feet, and you're going up, and you're like this, and then you're waiting for the yaks to go by. It was a challenging day, so much so that I thought, well, maybe I'm not capable of doing this right now. Maybe I hadn't properly prepared, and maybe I should stop. I was like, again, that's where that inner voice, or that voice of God, however you want to call it, maybe my insanity, I don't know, again said, Mike, you're being the world's biggest bitch right now. Grab your nuts. You didn't come all the way to Nepal just to turn around. Keep going. Get your ass up, keep going. And so I kept going. And then 2 weeks later, here I am on my profile picture. If you see it on Facebook or Instagram, it's a picture of me and my dad on the base camp of Mount Everest. And to be able to push myself to such an extreme where I couldn't breathe. It's so cold. We're talking a little under 0 degrees. And I'll tell you a quick story about the day before we went to the base camp. It was so cold. I had literally every piece of clothing that I could put on. I'm in my sleeping bag. Got like 3 pairs of socks on. I got my boots. I am still freezing.
Dude.
And I got to go take a shit. Now,
Here we go.
And now,
it's
not a Western toilet. It's one of those,
Yep.
one of those Western.
Oh, man.
So I'm like, man, if I go do this, I already know I'm gonna shit my pants. I'm gonna shit all over myself. So I'm like, and I start rationalizing the benefits if I shit my pants now.
Yeah, dude.
It's like, if I shit, if I shit my pants now, one, I'll be warm for a few seconds. I need to change out of these clothes anyway. So, I mean, win-win. Spoiler alert, I don't shit my pants. I just was like, all right, so I take the flashlight and then somehow I didn't get any poop on my pants. So, which is the most miraculous thing ever.
That's it. Story's over.
Story's over. But the point being is just being at base camp, not being able to breathe, or not being able to take a full breath, rather, and just to be able to look up at Mount Everest. It's like, and I'm a homeless kid from Philly, and here I am.
Yeah, man. Looking
up at Mount Everest, and it was at that point where I was like, you know what? I have such an incredible opportunity ahead. And yes, it was a difficult childhood, like I had mentioned. Yes, it was traumatic. Being homeless is traumatic. Being sexually abused is traumatic. But you're not defined by your past. And this is what I tell guys all the time. You're not defined by your past, but you are defined by what you're doing now. And I can either use that as a crutch, again, all that inner self-talk, which is, I mean, again, I don't want to generalize. I'm just talking for me, but this could also be applicable to most people, is your inner dialogue is bullshit. Me. And it's like, you know what? Yes, this happened.
Yeah.
Yes, it was terrible, but I can move. I'm not defined by that. And I'm not defined by those things. That doesn't make those things don't define who I am as a person. I'm somebody who has the capability to make it to the base camp of Mount Everest. And so doing that physical journey I came back a changed person. So much so, I mean, so much more than, again, Israel and walking where Christ walked, great. but all I'm doing is photos, quick prayer, eating shawarma, wash, rinse, repeat. And there's only so much. Well, shawarma's pretty good, but there's only so much you can do that. Where when you actually push yourself to this extreme, this is where good things can happen. And this is where I am going back to Everest in October of 2026. And my hope is, one of the things I talked with Mike about yesterday is actually to see about potential funding to bring veterans with me. And so that would be, because I was just going to go by myself. But to be able to bring other people with me who are struggling would be huge. Because when I started this was all about, this was not about helping any people or anybody else. This was about me taking a day by day approach to not off myself. And then before you know it, when you go through that storm, and people ask me, like, how'd you do it? And like, fuck, dude, I don't know. I mean, that's like, I'm not even sure if I'm through the storm.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things, no matter what, I'm a different person and I'm a changed person. And even though it was hard, in a weird way, I'm very thankful that it happened, because I'm so much better than who I was before. I'm so much more in touch with my feelings. I'm more caring about other people and about how these tragedies in life continue to affect people. And that if this thing hadn't happened, I may have lived the rest of my life without telling anybody. And it was it was an incredible thing. And wear this as a shield, or wear this on your sleeve rather than use it as a shield. One thing I will say is this. Again, I struggled with suicide ever since I was a kid. Again, going through this sexual abuse. And in Afghanistan, I served 1 year in Iraq and 7 months in Afghanistan. And in Afghanistan, I had an M4. And I was going through my first divorce. And it was messy. I mean, almost every divorce in the military is messy. Basically, everything bad. I mean, I don't know if you guys got divorced in the military, or I'm sure you at least know somebody who may have gone through a divorce.
Oh yeah.
And here I am. I wasn't a combat guy. I was an aviation guy. But here I am, is cutting footage day after day of families getting smoked, a little girl getting blown up by a JDAM. And I was just like, I wasn't sad. I was just like, what's the fucking point? What's the point? I took my M4 and I placed the barrel in my mouth. There was a round in the chamber, and I did click off safe. Obviously, again, spoiler alert, I didn't do it.
Spoiler.
But
Right.
then it went boom, and like, what? But I only told one person that, and that was the person I had this relationship with. And that was the only person I had ever told. My best friends in the world, guys I had jumped with, guys I knew in Iraq and Afghanistan, my brothers, my actual blood brothers, nobody knew about it except for her, and I shared it with her. And when we ended up going to court, without one iota of hesitancy, that was in her court filings.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of him because he put a barrel of a rifle in his mouth. And that's out there for the court to read, for her to say, for people in the gallery. And so here's the one deepest, darkest secret I never told anybody, and here it is for the world to hear.
Yeah, man.
And so, but now I share that story because this is coming from a guy who almost killed himself 4 or 5 times at least. That there is hope on the other side. That you're not defined by these things that have happened. That you can either let them define you, or you can push through and be the best you that you can be. And yeah, and then that's here I am, and here I am planning on going back to Everest next year. And then hopefully we can maybe take a veteran or a first responder or several first responders or veterans, and we can push themselves. We can help push them to their limits. I last October there's a great organization that I'm not really affiliated with, but they do great work. Mohawks 22. They're up in the Northeast. They take guys, veterans and first responders, and they take them parachuting. So I don't know if you guys went to jump school at all. I never went to jump school in the military, but you essentially, same deal, military jump masters, putting the aircraft, stand up, hook up, go. And then you have basic static line parachuting, and it's great. So me and my girl, we ended up going to Florida, and 22 Mohawks was there. And there was a little celebratory dinner, wings and whatnot, but people started breaking down. People just started crying, I almost killed myself. My dad killed himself, and just there's 4 or 5 guys just breaking down, just the raw emotion. And my girl is like, in English is her second language, so sometimes she's like, she has to take a second to be able to kind of formulate what she's saying. She's like, uh, is this always like this? And I'm like, no, it's not. It's normally very happy. Normally a lot of high fives and telling war stories, but this was raw emotion. And this is what I think, to an extent, like, who the fuck am I to make determinations of what people need? But man, and we as men, especially when we've gone through these struggles, whether it be the Army or the Marine Corps, combat deployments or non-combat deployments, trauma or no trauma, when we as men get together and we need to share, man, that's such a powerful thing. And that's why one of the reasons that I'm no longer going to hide, I'm no longer going to keep my story a secret, because if that can just help one person come to grips with what they've got going on, that you're not complicit with what happened. And I'm sorry that those things happen to you, but you can rise above it. So.
And it takes a lot of strength, right, to find that resilience and persevere. Whenever you know 4 or 5 times over, like you said, you thought about ending it all, man, and 4 or 5 times over, Mike and I are both very glad that you're still here, brother.
Thank you, brother. I
And
appreciate it.
you know, uh, it does. It takes a lot more strength, and it's a lot harder, to reach out and say, make that 3 o'clock in the morning phone call and say, look, I don't know if I can do this. It's not weak. It's the 180 of being weak. It
One
takes a
hundred
lot of
percent,
strength.
100%. I wish that's one of the reasons I share this story, is to destigmatize aspects of that, because especially we as men, even though things have gotten a little bit, I wouldn't say easier, but more generally accepted as far as sharing emotions. But Chris Rock does this great. It's not a joke, but it's more of an observation. I'm sure you guys have heard of it. Women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. Men are loved under the condition that they bring something. So, for instance, hey, if sure, but you tell me you got a new, I don't know, Neil, I don't know if you tell me if you're married or what your situation is, but you say, well, I got a new chick I'm dating. I'm like, what's my question going to be? What does she look like? Show me a picture.
Right.
Now, a woman or women, when they're together and they say, I got this new guy, what's their question?
Yeah, what's he do?
What's he do?
Right.
And so it's one of those things. If he works at Mickey D's, and it's like, well, unless he's the general manager, and it's like, girl, you deserve better. And so in the end, that's where we as men are at. And of course, that's not discounting for any women out there who are struggling. That's not discounting your struggles. I can only speak intelligently as far as men and their struggles.
Right.
But for women, it's a whole different set of struggles, especially when it comes to relationships, because there's a lot more at risk for them in terms of an unwanted pregnancy, or a pregnancy where the partner isn't willing to be a part of that, and things of that nature. And there's also a stigma, even to this day, of unmarried women having babies and whatnot. Even nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, dude, really, just life is fucking crazy, and it's just making your way through life, making your way through the crazy, and like you said, like don't let it define you or don't let it define you. Just like Henry Ford, man, either you're right or you're wrong. Like,
yep,
you can or you can't. Either way, you're right. Like you make the decision.
Absolutely.
And man, that could take me down a whole nother freaking crazy ass rabbit hole about social media and the impact it's having on people to find purpose and find identity. Because when you're struggling with identity and purpose and who you are and letting weird things define you, yeah, I mean, suicide looks like a pretty attractive companion, really.
People ask me, like, what was your thought process in terms of, like, why were you like, what were you feeling? And it was one of those things that I was just feeling. I felt like it was a way out. It was a way out of my feelings. It was a way out of my feelings of inadequacy. And there's also, and even though this shit had happened 30 years ago, it was still that feelings of worthlessness, and of feeling that maybe I would pardon me, maybe I was just a prost. Maybe that's who I am. In reality, it's like I'm nobody special. Yeah, I have this and I have that, but in the end, I sought so much validation. So, for instance, me and Mike had talked about this yesterday. Hey, I'd be like, hey Neil, you like me, right? We're good, right? And I'm as an example. And so I would just need that validation over and over again. I am a pretty educated guy, and I'm not saying this out of anything. But I have 2 degrees that I went through the process and the money that I don't use and I don't need. Why did I do it? I did it for just more validation. More, I read books that were great books, but they're not the right books, if I said that in a way that's makes sense. And that it was all to be able to achieve something that I felt was lacking. So no amount of books, no amount of degrees. It's all about when you look inside and you do that own self-evaluation. And that's where I really fell into those aspects of stoicism and virtue over anything else. And there's a great guy, his name is Miyamoto Musashi. He wrote a book called The Book of the Five Rings. And he talks about problem solving. And again, this is a samurai who lived in the 17th century. And he talks about perceived versus observed problems. So when you see a problem, like, so for instance, I'm not into politics, but you look at on Fox News or CNN or whatever your choice of network is, you perceive the problem, it's all bad. However, wherever your political leanings are. But if you really observe the problem, it's really not that bad. And then when you perceive, like, so for instance, let's say, I'm broke. Let's say I don't have any money. Like, on when you perceive that, that's pretty bad. Like, Mike Algeo, I have $0 in my bank account. Okay. But when you perceive it, it's like, okay, well, what did you spend your money on? You spend it on your mortgage. Okay, so the house is set, right? Yes. Well, with the fridge, well, my new fridge that actually has a screen inside of it, my girl actually can play music on it, but it's unfortunate because the computer doesn't understand her accent, so so she has to do it manually. So there's food in the fridge. The cars are paid. The cars have gas. The lights are paid. The internet's paid. Everything's paid. Yes, I don't have any money, which is, when you perceive it, bad. But when you observe the problem and everything's taken care of,
right,
it's really not. It's not bad. And this is just an example I threw out of thin air. But this is anything. This could be applied to anything. So it's about reading. For me, it's been about reading the right books. So getting into Miyamoto Musashi, getting into the Stoics like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius, that having that virtue. You can't control other people. You can't control outside events, but you can control your response to that. And now my choice every day is to be the best me that I can be.
That's it, man.
Awesome, man.
God, I mean, just could you even imagine what the world would be like if people would just embrace that position? Like it's crazy. It's crazy how things have been, how things are, and that's a whole nother hour for like a whole nother podcast.
I hear you.
Probably get me canceled or some shit. I don't know. But guess what? Guess what? You all can't cancel me. Like I'm uncancelable because I just don't give a fuck. I'm Dirty Mike. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, man.
You can't cancel. You can't cancel somebody that don't care. So,
Florida,
but yeah, man. I God, yeah, just can't thank you enough for coming on. You know, Neil and I think sometimes I feel like we, you know, you just keep beating a dead horse, and it's great because I know that, you know, people have called and text about different things, and we spoke about that yesterday, and you know, to help people out and put things into perspective. But then it's just, you know, it's kind of like your parents. You know, you keep hearing it from the same two people long enough that you bring in somebody else, and you know, because I tell people all the time, like not to minimize somebody's problems, but you know, like life isn't that bad. And you have a choice to either let the shit that's going on define you and define your life, or you just keep pushing the fuck through it, and you never know where you're going to end up.
Well, can I just say one thing? To anybody who's listening, and this is just always a reminder for myself. If you're ever in a position where you feel like you can't even breathe, let alone do stuff, keep going. Because you never know. I mean, I can't. I look back at where I was, and it's like a completely different person. So
Yeah.
for those who are interested, on my Facebook profile, you see on the right hand side is me at Everest with a picture of my dad. On the left is me drunk at a bar, as I was often. Seriously considering doing crazy shit, whether that be jumping off the Coronado Bridge. There was even one thought. One night I was at a bar. I was almost going to book a flight to Hawaii to go to the North Shore to go drown myself. And I'm like, dude, like, you know, I even had a laugh at the time. Like, dude, fly to Hawaii and go to the North Shore to drown yourself. Like, dude, it's like you can't even kill yourself in like in a regular, normal, good old Marine Corps fashion. And it's like, you know, do some shit. Like, dude, get the fuck out of here. It's like, you know, it's a but you know, it's just these are the thoughts that go through it. So in the end, I'm living proof that life is, like you said, Mike. It's not that bad. Keep pushing. It's going to turn out okay.
And like I've told numerous people, man, you know, because like I've had the thoughts. You spoke about your thoughts, and the places and the positions we were in were very dark, and there's no hope. And you know, you look at what you're doing now. You know, look at working to take other veterans to have that same experience, or first responders, people that are in a dark place. You know, to take them to something like Everest Base Camp, to have that experience, to help them find purpose, to, you know, just heal, to find that healing. And so for everybody that's struggling, you don't need to know what the fuck your future purpose is today. Just keep going. Keep going, and you will arrive there. You will get there. You will. That's it, man. That's it for me.
All right, gents. Well, I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Yeah,
and for
thanks,
everybody
Mike,
else
man.
that tuned in and joined us instead of watching Duke in Alabama, because fuck Duke. You know, we always appreciate that. I shouldn't cuss so much. I feel bad sometimes because like my cousin, she shared this and she's like, watch my cousin, he's really good and blah blah. And she's like such a good Christian person, and then she's got all these Christian friends on Facebook, and they're gonna be like, Dirty Mike, listen, like But sorry to everybody who's friends out there.
Hey, I can already tell we would be the three guys that are the normies would warn about. Like, so he's a good guy, but
Right, yeah. No, she didn't put any disclaimers on there. She just said like, hey, if you were in the military or something, this is great stuff to watch, and it is, and I appreciate that tremendously because I feel like we disseminate some good information and we get some great guests on. And I mean, man, almost every podcast we're talking mental health, we're talking sobriety, we're talking about all those awesome things, and we just keep kind of expanding and growing that network of people, like yourself, people that can be reached out to. And just had Mark Coleman, UFC Hall of Famer, staying here last weekend, and we were talking sobriety, and he was talking about the people that reach out and talk to him, and he's helped. And that's what this is all about, man. I was telling somebody, I said, I had the option to monetize all of this stuff and make money off these things. I don't monetize this stuff. I don't care about that. I care about the message getting out there and being able to help people and tell some funny ass stories and have some laughs along the way,
Absolutely.
So, well, Mike, again, we appreciate it. We're, I guess, I don't know, man. Everest sounds cool until you talk about 0 degrees like that.
The shitting of the benefits of shitting your pants.
Listen,
shitting
the
your pants
that don't even bother me. I took a shit in the jungle in Peleliu. All right, I'll shit my pants. I don't care. It's the cold. It's the just being that damn cold that
Hey, we might get you. Hey, we might get you out there in October next year.
Yeah,
that might happen.
Yeah,
you'll just have to recruit Craig to be your shit ticket.
Bring Craig.
Sherpa. Yeah.
I don't know if Craig's like a warm weather dude too. He's always in the South Pacific and fucking Thailand and shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Craig, man.
But again, man, we appreciate you, brother, very much.
Pleasure.
Everybody that's watching us. I don't ever say this. I got to start saying this shit, man. Share this stuff with people. There's a share button somewhere there on YouTube. There's a subscribe button somewhere there on YouTube, so you can catch us next time we upload and do these things. There's like buttons. There's just hit like all the fucking buttons except for that one. Like leave that one alone.
Yeah.
The rest of them, hit that shit. Comment, man. We'll talk back to you. We love hearing you guys, your thoughts, your opinions. Call me an asshole. I don't give a fuck. Badger did the first time we ever met him.
Thanks, Badger.
Yeah. Well, these guys are a bunch of assholes, man. So, all right. Thank you again.
All right.
All of everybody out there listening. Until next time.
Semper Fi, Mike.
Semper Fi.